broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar by solutionXchg on Content Server selection in the cloud or on-premise. We're happy you could attend this afternoon and hope you find our topic interesting. My name is Kristen Gerling, and I will be your host throughout the session. Our presentation today will take about 30 minutes, with 10 minutes reserved for questions at the end. A few procedural and technical notes before we start. All participants are on mute during the full duration of the webinar. Please alert us or please post any questions or concerns through the questions function in your administration panel on the right side of your screen. Also, if you cannot hear us or cannot see the presentation, please also do alert us through this question panel. We will send a transcript out to those who are interested after the webinar. Please contact us through an email at info@solutionXchg.com. That is info@solutionXchg.com. But let's dive right into the topic. My business partner, Jochen Hager, will be presenting today. Jochen, will you introduce yourself, please?
Thank you, Kristen. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Jochen Hager with solutionXchg, and we at solutionXchg have about 20 years of experience in devising archiving and content server solutions for SAP. And today we would like to share a little bit about the general considerations, whether you select what content server to select, and whether it makes sense to push a content server into the cloud or run it in an on-premise environment. Ready to start, Kristen? Go through the presentation? All right, let's dive right into the presentation. Some general considerations about picking the correct or right ECM solution for your application. There is various ECM solution shortfalls with solutions we see out there in the marketplace. There is about 90 different solutions that are certified to work with SAP to store documents using SAP standardized interfaces, and especially the ECM solutions, the larger one that are more than built for SAP, but also serve additional functionality in document management, have a number of shortfalls that we often see in the market. Some of the solutions we see have been dramatically oversized for their actual needs. The solution has been oversized with document growth in mind that never happens, has been oversized in terms of power for the computers that are used to run the solution, database size. There maybe was talk about a company-wide rollout through all business aspects of SAP that actually never happened. A lot of these solutions are kind of stuck in finance where they started. Another big problem is that the technology is really built on an architecture that's about 20 years old. The initial systems were built as a multi-server architecture, and in today's environment, they don't take advantage of cloud installation capabilities, do not take advantage of virtualization, and so we need to look at in detail at maybe your existing products, or when you do a selection, you need to look at exactly these questions to make sure you have the right technology. And The alternative on the other end of the spectrum is that the products are not large-scale production ready. There is some small vendor products out there that just do not scale enough to be a viable solution or even be transferable into the cloud. So what you should really consider is that technology is never at a standstill. You need to review whether the system you purchase for thousands of dollars can be purchased for a fraction of that cost today with better features and less administration. You might want to consider that if you started with a very small solution and you do have the other need of expanding it, are you still set for the future? Do you have enough storage capacity on your server architecture? Do you have enough growth room to build out the solution for your further needs? So it's important to look at your at your cost potential, cost savings potential, and also to make sure that you're future ready with your solution. Especially if you have a large ECM solution, complexity of administration is a big consideration. The hardware support fees are a big consideration. Database maintenance cost and maintenance, just maintenance for the existing content management solution is a major cost, which might have been purchased for a high price just a few years ago, and the same functionality can be available at a much lower cost point. Additionally, the hardware support fees or database maintenance cost come into play when we look at a transition to the cloud. We can, with a right sizing of the solution, we can dramatically improve the cost and the complexity of administration. We can move the solution to the cloud, and with that completely eliminate hardware support fees. It is necessary to get rid of any databases just to simplify and slim down any cloud footprint we will have. And of course, maintenance that is paid for a cloud solution might be much more economical than what you're paying right now for a fully licensed solution. And in addition, you might be able to bring down the maintenance overall. There's 5 simple recommendations where you should consider when looking at cloud solution and whether your solution in particular is cloud ready. You need to make sure you can virtualize your server environment. So whether you already have something and you want to move it to the cloud, you need to look into how can I virtualize my existing solution, or when you pick a solution, you need to make sure that that solution really lends itself for virtualization, and with that for deployment in a cloud server environment. Ideally, you also want to scale up the solution as you need. You scale it as you need. You don't oversize upfront. A very important point in a cloud environment, that flexibility, scalability you gain by moving in the cloud, by just on demand, require more server capacity, more floating point operations, right sizing the server, giving it power in IO transactions, or CPU power. That all can be much easier handled in the cloud without changing any hardware, physical hardware. Obviously, you can reduce your maintenance cost when you do the step, making sure you go to a lower maintenance cost solution. And the recommendation is to really closely look at what other companies are doing. We've witnessed a lot of companies that either actively evaluate, or physically moving to an Azure or an Amazon AWS cloud system right now. The last but not least, eliminate your expensive archive servers if you have bought into solutions, especially into ECM solutions in the past, and replace them with a low cost and much more effective hardware. Why are we in our presentation today looking specifically at the KGS Content Server for Storage? Number one, the Content Server for Storage is in its design cloud ready. It comes with no database need built in. The intelligent storage organization and storage schema allows you to use just regular file system or a file system simulation for document storage. With that, it becomes highly compatible with other tools that are in the market and provide you with the reliability and retention management capabilities you might want to add to any content server solution. It is completely stateless. With that, it allows to do snapshot backups, which allow you to store get rid of any backup, regular backups you would have to do on your server environment. The only need you have is to store a golden image, so to speak, after each configuration change. With that configuration change, or even just with the storage of the configuration files, you are good to go, and you can quickly and easily rebuild the solution in a disaster recovery situation or just regular backup situation. In addition, the content server, KGS Content Server for Storage, comes with a bundled migration tool, which we consider the best migration tool in the market. It has a strong logging functionality that allows you to have a detailed protocol of every document that has been moved. If there's errors can be automatically retried. You can scale the migration tool in ways where you can speed it up and slow it down as needed, completely customizable to the speed of your existing solution or the speed of the cloud solution, digestion speed of the cloud solution that takes in the documents. Overall, we think the KGS solution follows the paradigm of better, faster, simpler, and cheaper, which is ideal for a deployment in a cloud solution scenario. Now, let's just in general take a step back and look at what benefits you will gain with a cloud solution per se. Cloud solution in general guarantee you higher availability. The dedicated environments that you can have guaranteed availability rates, which you can utilize. You can have automated upgrade services with very little downtime built into your service contract. It's better scalable. As you grow, the service grows, you can dynamically add storage capacity, or if you have S3 based storage or Azure Blob type storage, the storage capacities is almost unlimited. You can choose the power of your virtualized machine, whether it's computation heavy or IO heavy. All that can be designed and scaled as you need it to provide optimal performance for your end users. Usually, services and machines can be had at a lower cost. You get better pricing on storage, better storage, and better pricing on server capacity, just because of the buying power of these large enterprises that offer you cloud service solutions. Less complexity because you eliminate a whole set of infrastructure. You don't have to run the servers yourself. You don't have to have part replacement contracts, no failed hardware in terms of switches in your service solution, or Ethernet cards, or platters, disk drives that need to be replaced. All of that eliminates a whole set of complexity that allows you to free up resources and use for other issues, and not to maintain a long time archiving solution on premise. The elasticity is also improved, meaning elasticity is a cloud service word that's used to describe the fact that you get power when you need it. So you get bursts built into your cloud service environment. The cloud service provider gives you more power when you need it, and lowers down the computing power when you don't need it. With that dynamic scaling or elasticity, you get the retrieval power you want when you need it, but you, let's say at the end of the month, when you have a more intensified document retrieval requirements, you can also build that into your service contracts, and you do not have to oversize your solution from the get-go. Of course, there is a number of things you should consider when you undertake something like a move to the cloud. A cloud solution is not identical one-to-one to an on-premise solution. It does. It should start with a proper requirements analysis. What do you want from your what is it your business is asking? How do you need to serve from an IT perspective your business users? What are some of the response requirements? How long does the data have to be made available? How do we get rid of data that we don't want to keep for the future? So a solid business requirements analysis is at the beginning of the process. And with that, you can look then further. What are the risks involved with a cloud solution? What are the benefits we get? You need to discuss these risks and benefits with your business to fully understand. They need to understand what they're getting into. Maybe there is a slower response time on some older items because they need to be pulled from secondary storage media. So that needs to be taken into consideration. The business needs to be okay with that. Sometimes there is data that itself just doesn't lend itself for cloud storage because you only need a tiny bit of a very large file. Maybe sometimes megabytes or gigabytes of data need to be analyzed just to get a little bit of information back, and that might be a performance issue. So you need to understand what you're pushing in the cloud. You need to understand why you're doing it, what benefits are you expecting, and you need a risk benefits analysis to round this out. Now, once that is done, you can go into a ROI calculation, taking the numbers you will get from your cloud service provider, compare those maybe to an on-premise solution and what you're paying today. Do a thorough ROI calculation that augments your risk-benefit analysis, and based on these two documents, then start building the SLAs you want to put in place with the cloud service provider. Very clear SLAs is highly important. You need to tell the other side what you want, how you want it. You need to test it out, and that then gets you into a good position when you start doing your provider selection. Not every provider is the same. There's very small cloud service provider, almost hosting, what we called hosting services in the past. Essentially, the function is the same. You don't care about the hardware. You don't have to worry about software. All you buy is basically throughput, documents that are pushing into a cloud storage, documents you're pulling from a cloud storage. And there, of course, are the big ones like Microsoft Azure, Amazon, AWS, and you should in detail understand what is your company direction and then proceed with proper service provider selection. Contractual agreements are another important part. They need to match and resemble exactly what you have collected so far in your process. And then, of course, you need to get your data into the cloud. The data migration process is something that needs to be evaluated. If there's large amounts of data, maybe an online transfer is not feasible. It needs to be storage medium needs to be transferred, and eventually the service is completely handed over to the cloud service provider, and you can start your the use of the services. Also, when you look at transitioning, there is two important parts we need to look at. There is strong consideration, what do we have to do when we enter the cloud, but also you need to consider when you enter, what will I do when I have to leave? Let's look at the entering the cloud side first. We're entering the cloud. We have a lot of legacy documents. We need to understand how we get those legacy documents in. Can we shed some of the load? Can we dismiss some documents because they're out of retention is a big consideration. So minimize what you take into the cloud is obviously very cost effective. Do we have any business process changes? Can we change a business process to make it cloud ready? Do we have to work with do we have to work into some changes into the business scenario, some changes so that we are better able to utilize cloud services? How do I get the data in? How do I migrate the data in? And then, of course, what's the cost associated with migrating the data in? That becomes part of your ROI analysis as well, because the data just doesn't magically move into the cloud. You need to come up with procedures and migration processes that actually put it in the cloud. Now, on the flip side of this, when we go into the cloud, we also have to understand what it does cost us getting out. Vendor lock-in is a common pitfall in anything cloud related, because if you haven't done your proper planning up front and you don't understand what it takes to get out, you basically have a cost prohibitive barrier that doesn't allow you to switch from Amazon Azure to AWS if you need to, and it takes away the capability to do comparison shopping. In that sense, you're locked in with your vendor, and if the prices go up, they go up and up and up and up until you are at a point where you feel you're overpaying for the services and there's no ROI compared to the initial on-premise solution. Virtualization is important even within a cloud environment. Can I take maybe the complete virtual image and take it down and power it up somewhere else? That could be a consideration, or any other exit strategy. Please make sure that you figure out switching costs at least on a rough level before you enter the cloud, so that there is no bad surprises when you decide to leave. So summarizing what we talked about, get a new system that's up to today's standards. Find a migration process that is fast and almost risk-free. With that, you have the capability to realize significant savings and reduce or repurpose hardware you have in-house, or just sunset a machinery that is outdated. To give you a quick architectural overview, the KGS solution with a Eternity compliant server is built in these 3 layers. The storage here is usually a regular file system storage that's cloud service provided. This compliant software layer by Eternity can be virtualized. The content server layer by KGS can be virtualized. So this whole stack here is fully cloud ready and virtualizable. The migration is greatly risk reduced because we are using the KGS migration for archive link tool, which in our opinion is the best solution available, has been specifically developed for SAP archiving requirements, uses a proxy service to allow for a seamless migration, no end user impact, minimal downtime, minutes of downtime, not hours, not days, not weekends for switchovers, minutes of downtime to switch into your future cloud scenario. A very unique approach that allows you to cope with the highest performance requirement and fully certified for S4HANA, Archive Link, and SAP ILM. In our opinion, it's the best fit. The entire system is developed with 100% compliance to SAP standard, and we have done many successful migrations with this solution. A couple of examples, we at a company called Armstrong, ceilings and flooring components, we migrated for them 28 million documents, moved from a on-premise solution to a virtualized solution, not yet a cloud solution. P&G has a large number of production SAP instances, migrated 28 terabyte. This is a hosting scenario. In a way, it would resemble, from a P&G perspective, a cloud scenario. P&G purchased this solution as a service from a hosting provider. Wells Fargo, we consolidated 2 legacy archives, very sensitive data. We did a full validation of every single data item, and we had close to 0 downtime during the cutover. So very interesting, very powerful project references. The solution is fully certified in all aspects. It's certified for S4HANA with the newest standards, and it's been certified for the regular Archive Link and ILM interfaces just as well. And that gets us to the end of the presentation. A few words about us. We're solutionXchg. We bring to you a long-standing experience for archiving and document management solution and SAP. We start with business process analysis. We can help you with SAP module customizing for just standard module customizing to an extent, as well as a specific module customizing that's required for activating document management solutions. We do project management for implementation, migration, and cloud migration projects, as well as general enterprise content management, solution implementation, and much more. The company focuses on innovative German software products for the US market. We are a premier KGS reseller in the United States with strong SAP archiving document management expertise. We're specializing on low-cost, high-quality, high ROI SAP add-ons for very selected, very prestigious vendors, and we've been in the business for over 19 years with a lot of SAP implementation experience. So with that, I give it back to Kristen, and we'll see if we have any questions today.
Thank you, Jochen. This concludes the presentation section of our webinar for today. We hope you found the last 30 minutes interesting and could take some good takeaways from that session. The floor is open now for questions. Please post your questions in the question panel. One question came in earlier, Jochen, and that is, which cloud providers are supported?
We work with different cloud providers. We have evaluated support for Microsoft Azure, also Amazon. We ourselves use Amazon AWS for our demo scenarios and testing environments, but it's fully scalable to work in a production environment situation as well. Because we store usually on regular hard disk file system structures, we're not really restricted to any particular hardware or any particular service provider. Now, some of the tools we're looking at are in the process to support S3 or Microsoft Blob storage. And as these solutions come out, we will carefully look into those and expand our recommendations. But at this point, we're fairly hardware and software agnostic. We can run with Microsoft systems as well as Linux systems. For some of the solutions, others are in other words, we'll help you find the right operating system for the respective solution. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. The next question is, if we were to replace an existing solution with yours, how would we migrate the existing data?
There is basically two ways how we can do that. We can, essentially, we need to look at the cost. We need to look at the amount of data we need to migrate, and we need to look at the cost for ingesting the data, taking in the data if we connect directly from your on-premise servers to the cloud storage environment. Because of the unique architecture of the KGS solution, there is an alternative where we could do a local migration to a external disk and then take that disk and push it into the cloud by sending it to a cloud service provider, asking them to import the file system into the cloud scenario, and then we would do something like a Delta migration for just the latest documents. That could be done completely without business interruption as well. And it could be a cost-effective alternative to just pushing everything over the internet. Thank you.
Okay, and then the last question is, I don't have an SAP archive solution yet. Can I get more information on what scenarios the SAP archive solution supports?
The archive solutions we have in our portfolio support all business applications you can run in SAP. At this point, for sure, all the ones that are run in SAP S/4HANA or in the classical SAP ERP systems. Now, SAP itself is working on getting their cloud solutions archived enabled. Some of it is already in process. Some solutions are not yet quite there. That is certainly work SAP has cut out for themselves to make all the existing SAP cloud solutions like SuccessFactors, like Concur, and other solutions completely document cloud ready. All of them can store documents, but just not in a centralized archive server environment. So some changes have to happen there. But the solutions you built on your classical SAP ERP or S/4HANA environment can all be supported by the solutions we discussed today. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that brings us to the end of today's webinar. Thank you very much for attending and listening. We hope you could get some interesting takeaways, and until next time, goodbye. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Goodbye, everybody.